Do you like wrestling? Do you like video games? Are you super ecstatic about this year's video game drop? Are you thinking it's going to deliver that 100% authentic real wrestling feel? Well, it's not. It can't. It won't. So I'll just spare you the heartbreak now, because today, Dave knows wrestling video games. Don't get me wrong, I love wrestling video games. I've had plenty of good times with them. They're great, but they're not really authentic to professional wrestling. And it doesn't look like they're ever going to be either. The biggest problem we have to look at when it comes to a wrestling video game is the fact that, well, all wrestling video games are basically combat-based, and wrestling is fake. Wrestling video games still maintain the illusion of kayfabe, and as long as they do that, we'll never get a real pro wrestling experience. When you really think about it, this is totally a juxtaposition of unrelated forms, with all these different elements combining to make a wrestling video game, and most of it doesn't really have to do with pro wrestling. First and foremost is the actual fighting mechanics of the game. That just doesn't work. Sure, we've actually had some attempts to breach the choreographed nature of wrestling into a wrestling video game before, but none have gone over too successfully. Take for example Survivor Series for the Game Boy Advance, and in that game your general manager actually had a grading system where you were judged off of your match. Now there were different factors you were being judged on, whether you had a wide variety of moves or not, whether there was a good back and forth struggle between you and your opponent, whether it was exciting for the fans to watch. That was a really cool aspect of the game. However, it was still contingent on the fact that you actually had to win and defeat your opponent, instead of just booking it straight and letting you know whether you had to win or lose or not, and then trying to work to the finish. And even so, the reality is, who even talks about that game or knows that that game exists? What we need is for the major console games to start adapting some of these strategies, and that is exactly what would turn the tide and really give us that authentic wrestling experience that some of us are definitely craving. I know I am. Now 2K has implemented a chain wrestling system. Is it perfect? No, but it is a good introduction. However, it is more like an MMA style game rather than an actual wrestling game. Now you know how much I love chain wrestling, especially if you checked out a previous video that I did, and if you haven't, feel free to check it out, or hey, check it out again. Now the thing about chain wrestling that you can't really do with an MMA style controller setup is that it's about two people working together. So the choreography actually has to be in sync with your opponent. So whoever you're in the match with has to work with you. That's what pro wrestling is really about. That's the key that wrestling video games are missing. And for the most part, we don't really have a lot of video games that are truly cooperative in that level. Most of the time it's about fighting against each other, and if you do have a co-op game, usually it's about, well, taking turns and fighting those turtles and walking mushrooms, or, you know, shooting collectively at the same thing. However, that is where sports games come into play. Sports games are indeed about developing that relationship, and if WWE is totally about trying to recreate a real sports feel and really pull wrestling into the legitimate sporting front, that's the exact kind of approach they could get. Now yes, I know wrestling is not sports, it's sports entertainment. However, that doesn't mean it's not an athletic contest that still can be brought into the world of sports, or at least treated in the video game world like sports, because it most certainly can. And treating wrestling like a sport in video games is a great idea, but in order to do that, you have to start copying what the other sports video game franchises are doing, and that's trying to give you a realistic sensation of what it's like to actually play the sport, you know, without, God forbid, leaving the house and, you know, actually playing. But anyway, I mean, even look at the Wii Sports games. They managed to accomplish realism. And if we want realism, then we need to stop pretending the fake sport isn't fake. And as much as I love the Creator Wrestler feature, let's be honest here, it is taking away an awful lot of time and attention away from every other aspect of the game. And sure, I totally get why this hasn't happened yet. WWE has gone back and forth whether they want to admit wrestling is fake or not. They just keep giving us the runaround. They just won't stop with that. Not only that, but this is also really hard to do. Aspects like charisma and ring psychology are really hard to put in a video game, especially with only just a handful of buttons and all that. And the other thing about that, wrestling is largely about timing and perfecting each move. Sure, we have a game like that, we call it Guitar Hero, but that would require everyone looking at the color of buttons instead of actually paying attention to the match we see before you. And sure, you could have a button pattern that you have to press at a certain time and then get the end result match after you're done playing, but where's the instant gratification that all video game fans really want? You know, we want our match right now as we're playing it. We don't want to sit around and wait, but you know, that's food for thought. And not only that, a big part of what people like about wrestling is doing something creative, doing something innovative, stuff we've never seen before. If a video game has everything laid out for you, it's kind of hard to surprise the video game because it's only programmed to do X amount of things. You can't really reinvent the wheel in game, you know, but I'm enjoying this current crop of video games way more than some previous titles out there that are supposed to be video games about wrestling, from what I was told. I'm not saying get rid of the 2K franchises, but I am saying I'm looking for somebody, somewhere out there to just crack it down and make the kind of video game I'm talking about. One that truly takes all the athletic aspects of professional wrestling and actually puts them in video game form. And one that's really about working with whoever you're in the ring with to create a great coherent match. And on top of that, lace on all the other great things about professional wrestling that makes the product what it is. Sure, Guitar Hero may not actually teach you how to play guitar, but at least it's a step in the right direction. So for all of us armchair critics out there, why can't we get a video game to do exactly the same? Hey, but those are just my thoughts, but what about you? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments about what you want in a wrestling video game, and what do you like about the idea of a video game that totally breaks kayfabe? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This has been Dave Knows. Hold up a second, I'm still playing WWE Supercard. Alright, okay, yeah. Everybody else can have their Pokemon Go, forget that. And once again, I want to specify how much I like wrestling video games. I just want a different kind of wrestling video game. One that I think we're overdue for. And if you like this video and you want to see more, then go ahead and check these videos out right here. I got one that's all about the Intercontinental Tournament that never happened. I also have another one about the Undertaker origin movie that also never happened. Bunch of stuff that never happened that should. I'm noticing a theme here. Anyway, if you like this video, why not go ahead and just click like? And also, if you're not subscribed yet, please go ahead and click subscribe as well. And feel free to share this video with any of your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. This has been Dave Knows.